Welcome everyone. Today I'm taking a quick look at the Decimator Designs MD-HX. This is a HDMI to SDI cross converter and scaler. Has a lot of great features at a really good price point. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at the physical design first of all. This is an all-metal body. It's very nice. A little heatsink on the back. It's painted bright red as most of the Decimator Designs stuff is. On this side we have 5 SDI ports. There's 4 outputs and 1 input. And on this side we have power, 2 HDMIs, and a USB. So 1 HDMI for in and 1 HDMI for out. The USB allows you to connect it to a computer so that you can set up some settings, but you can also do most of those settings through the built-in menu system. The power cord is also locking, which is very nice. It's a standard 2.1mm DC barrel jack, but the included DC power supply has this locking ring so that you don't accidentally pull your power out once it's locked. So on the main screen here is your input status. The S is for SDI, the H is for HDMI, and the D is for the converter, because D is in the word converter. As you can see right now, there's no signal. I have nothing plugged in, but the converter is converting to HD 1080i 5994. Down here on the bottom you have right, left, back, and enter. So if you go to the right, that's your control menu. In control you can select where your SDI is coming from. Right now it's coming from the scaler, so whatever the scaler gets is what's going to come out your SDI ports. Your HDMI out source, which is in this case also the scaler. Your type, this is on HDMI component 422. If you hit enter, you can also change it to RGB 444 and component 444. The DUC, I believe that stands for down up converter, that's the D, is coming from the HDMI in. So as is right now, the signal coming in the HDMI port gets converted and then sent out both HDMI and SDI. You can of course set this to be anything, the HDMI or the SDI. Next is the down-up converter reference. You can set it to the source, so in this case it would be HDMI, but you can also set it to free run or SDI in or HDMI in. No signal color. This has actually never worked for me. I don't know why, but it's supposed to display a color on the screen when there is no input source. I've only ever gotten it to just show black. I don't know why. I can't figure this out. 3G output is B, so this lets you essentially convert 3G SDI level A to level B, or level B to level A, which is necessary for some certain black magic equipment that won't support one or the other. Output 1 is loop. That means that the SDI output 1 loops exactly what the SDI input is, and I'll show you that in detail later. Next menu is scaling. This is where you set up your output format for your DUC, your down-up converter. You have several different frame sizes and frame rates. Right now it's set for 1080i 5994. But you can change that to be 1080i 50, 1080 PSF 25, PSF 24, PSF 2398, 1080p 25, P24, 720p, all the flavors. You can even do, here's 3G. You can even do 480i, 480p, PAL 576i. So you have all the flavors of PSF, P, and I for your conversion. You can also change your aspect ratio. So in this case this is SD to SD, so if standard def is coming in, standard def is going out. This one is standard def to high def to standard def, and high def to high def. So the setting here, anamorphic, that just means that whatever comes in is what goes out. So here's in and out. In is 16:9, out is 16:9. In is 16:9 or 4:3 pillar box. Output is a 4:3 zoom. So this allows you to take a 4:3 signal coming in and pillar box on the output, or take a 4:3 I'm sorry, a 16:9 input and turn it into a pillar box output. Audio lets you set up your SDI audio groups from your HDMI input and whatnot. This is a lot easier to set up in the software, but this essentially allows you to change all your pairs and groups. So in theory you could use this simply to rearrange your SDI audio output mapping. The setup menu here is just for some device settings, for your how long this screen takes to turn off. Back to status is when it goes back to the input status, so it's set for 1 minute right now. Auto save, it will save your settings every time you make a change. And load defaults will do a factory reset. So for some more detail here on the side, this SDI port, it's HD, SD, and 3G SDI input. And these 4 outputs are in 2 groups. This is output 1 and these 2 are output 2. You can set this so that this is essentially 1 to 2 DA, input here and output here without any processing being done at all. So exactly what comes in also comes out. You can also set this as a 1 to 4 DA, so whatever comes in the SDI goes out all 4. And you can mix and match, so you can have SDI coming in and going out as a 1 to 2 DA, but you could also have an HDMI coming in and being converted to these 2 SDI outputs. So this is a very capable and flexible piece of equipment. I'm going to channel my inner Big Clive here and draw a diagram of how this can be used to do 3 different things at the same time. So over here you have your HDMI input. So that's input. And then you have your HDMI output. In the center you have your down-up converter, or your scaler. And then over here you have your SDI in and your bank of SDI outs. You have 4 of those. And these SDIs are in 2 separate groups. So what you could do here is you could take an HDMI signal that's coming in and you could convert that signal to your DUC, and then you could pass it out SDI group 2. At the same time you could take your SDI input and convert it to HDMI. Not scale it. You can only scale one thing at a time, but in this instance you're scaling you're converting your SDI to HDMI, and you're converting your HDMI to SDI with a scaler. But at the same time you could make a 1 to 2 DA. So you can go SDI in, 2 SDI outs, 1 HDMI out, and a scaled HDMI to SDI conversion. Let's give you another example. Let's say you have 3G level A coming in, and you need to send it out as 3G level B. You can set in the menus to simply do this, and now you have 3G level B and a 1 to 4 DA here. At the same time you're doing this, you can convert an HDMI signal, say this is 1080 I60 and it needs to be 1080 I5994. You can easily do that in through the DUC and back out again. So you're using this as a 60i to 5994i HDMI to HDMI converter and a 3G SDI level A to 3G SDI level B 1 to 4 DA converter. For another example, and this is something that I had to do on a show I was on recently. Take your SDI input, run it into your scaler, and output it to all 4 of your SDI outputs. The instance I had was I had a 1080 PSF 24 signal that I had to get out as 1080 I5994. That then went to an AJA. High five to go to HDMI to a bunch of screens. So I went from 24 PSF to 60i. As you can see, this is very powerful, and the price is just right at $295. This thing is almost a necessity. It's great to throw in your tool bag on a show if you don't know what you're going to encounter, what kind of signals, what kind of distribution you need. I've also brought this with me on several jobs where it has been the difference between a successful show and a failure. So definitely pick one up. $295 pretty much everywhere, B&H, Amazon, any of your normal video buying places. I hope you learned something. That's all for me. Take care.